But the comms that build around common interests or whatever, eventually they hit a plateau where, oh, we started out of comfort, but now we're comfortable.
Okay, so hey guys, it's so good to have you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves? Where you from? How many kids you have? What do you do? How long you been in Josh Gen?
Okay, so my name's Joe.
Tania.
And we've been in Josh Gen. Well, we live in Blouberg. We currently elders in Sunningdale Aim. And we've been in Josh Gen for about 14 years. Tania is actually the date person, so I checked up before. I asked her, how long dates?
I wasn't sure.
So she wasn't sure, so I was like, I'm on my own. So I think we've been in Josh Gen for 14 years. We've been comm leaders for about 10 years. Well, comm leaders, deacons, and elders. So yeah, we got 3 kids. One is just finished varsity, looking for work. Well, he got work. One just started varsity. And our daughter Alex she's in grade 11.
Yeah.
So yeah, our kids are almost all out of the house.
Wonderful.
And then it's...
I shouldn't say wonderful, sorry.
Yeah. Then Tanya's going to be very excited that it's just the 2 of us and she can take me on all the outreaches she wants.
Now, you've obviously been involved in leading communities for a long time, involved in communities for a long time. I know currently you're overseeing all the communities in your congregation. I wanted to ask you, just with community as family life, which is the way we express family through community, how do you understand that to be? How do you see community as family?
I'll go and you can jump in. I think for me, with community, and I've seen this over the years, is it's a place for people to come in where they can feel like they belong, where they can feel like people love them. People care for them at least. It starts with that, and it will grow. So I think there's a lot of guys visiting Sunningdale at the moment. I think across Josh Gen, I think we got a lot of visitors, and if you speak to those guys, they're looking for family. They're looking for a place to belong, for a place to feel cared for, a safe place. So I think community, for me, is being that family. And actually, the community we grew up in it's actually interesting we call it community, because the community we grew up in was anyone could come to your house and ask for sugar. You could go to anyone and ask, I need something, and if they had it, they'd give it to you. Any auntie down the road
door was always open.
Could tune you, could correct you, and it would be fine. And that's how we grew up. And I think we've chose, like when Adrienne chose the word community, it's on purpose. It's because they want their thing of that there's a togetherness, that we're one big family.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what I see when I see community being family. And there's I think when we spoke, I shared a bit about, I don't know if Tania, you got anything you want to add on?
Go.
When we spoke, and I see one of the key things for me is that community mustn't look a certain way. So no one must be able to come into a church and say, that is the businessman community, that's the sporty community, that's the...
Very good.
Yeah, we shouldn't be able to categorize a community. Because for me, like in 1 Corinthians 12, it speaks about is one body, many parts. And a community needs to look like that. And I think the danger is, and I think a lot of communities build like that, purely because it's the easiest path. It's convenient, it's comfortable. So
having common.
So when you start to whatever you look for people that have things in common with you.
Yeah.
And then you start building that. Right? And then people start recognizing you, let's say the businessman community. Then any businessman family that comes into the church, I know exactly where to put you. And then that thing just feeds itself.
Yeah.
And the problem is if you start building out of convenience and comfort, you'll end in convenience and comfort. So often what happens, what I've seen is the communities will take anyone in. Their heart is, send anyone to us. They grow. And there's a hunger in them to continue growing, to continue growing in. But the comms that build around common interests or whatever, eventually they hit a plateau where, we started out of comfort, but now we're comfortable. We've got enough people. So now they form this inward-looking circle. They come to church and they're inward-looking. Here's our group. we sit in a certain area in the church, we communicate, they're not left looking outwardly, like who can we draw in? And I think that's the danger. Yeah. And the problem there is also, if you all got common interests, you are similar, then you got similar perspectives, you got similar blind spots, you got similar, but you all think you're doing great. But the incredible thing with having a diverse com is that there's this thing of different perspectives, people speaking, like every part working together, the way the church works. Yeah. And you were speaking about evangelism also, like how do we, for me, one of the key things is when the low-hanging fruit in evangelism is visitors, right? Visitors coming into your church. That's low-hanging fruit, is easy. But often I see if you build around certain common interests, then even the people in your church, when they're speaking to visitors, their first point isn't come to my com. They're like asking 5 questions. They want to know, they want to try to figure out where do we put you. And your heart should never be where do we put you. Oh, what's your interest? So we can place you somewhere convenient. The first person that speaks to you should be inviting you to come. The next person that comes speak to you should be inviting you to come. And like most churches got like a visitors team or whatever that will call the guys in the week. How's things doing? How did you find church? Did anyone invite you? Now what should be happening there? Most of the guys should be, 3 or 4 people inviting me to come. But often what you find is the guy, no one really invites. Maybe people spoke to them. And then the guys that's doing the visits, they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying, what's your interest? Where do you live? And they're trying to do the same thing and building that way. Yeah. So it becomes this thing that's hard to unravel. It gets momentum and it's hard to pull back. Yes. If you start in that place, it's hard to pull back because it feeds itself. And that's not how the kingdom grows.
I think to jump in there, it seems like the better path, the easier path, because homogenous, like-minded or like-interested groups do grow quicker and easier, like you said, in the short term. But it actually doesn't. You've got to. Well, let me put it this way. I think to build community often requires us to have a theology that, an understanding that actually we are different and we too love one another in our differences. And if you're all the same, you can't love one another. It's easier to love one another, but actually the gospel is best shown when you're able to love those that are different to you, as opposed to those that are, the same. If it's easy because you all have common background and interests, then the gospel is not displayed as much. And definitely that's been my experience over the years, is leading and being part of community groups and a church where I've got people from such a different culture and I have to learn how to reach out to them and love them. It actually shows what God is like, and a community is like, wow, the wider community is impacted because they see the gospel.
It grows us in character.
Yeah.
To be accepting, to embrace change and people that are different, to how we are.
I think what you said now, the world can do that. The world can love the people that's similar to them and build friendships and so on.
And social.
But as in the kingdom, it's like, if you're trying to find what do we have in common? If you're diverse group, like you look around, and I've often told guys in our com this, that I look around and I'm like, if I wasn't saved, we'd never be chilling together. And you probably wouldn't be chilling with me.
Yeah.
That should be, this is the Lord. So what do we have in common? It has to be Jesus.
Yeah.
Like that needs to be, like you're looking for common, that is the commonality we're looking at. That's what we're all drawn to. And I think if you don't have that, the differences, if your interest, the thing that might be drawing you might not be Christ. And I've often seen in comms that looks one certain way, is categorized. If something is pulled, if someone leaves, the leader shifts, they often crumble. Yeah. There's often a scattering because they didn't build on Christ in the first place. Yeah. And I think that's also the danger.
I think the reality is sometimes it's not wrong. People get drawn in because of common interests, and that's not wrong. Yeah. But I think if you're building on that, that's wrong. And I think if you're leading people to be built on Christ and then having people that are different to you and learning how to love one another in that midst, you're working towards that, then that should be your aim.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very good.
Yeah.
So in leading a community that is growing, often the pressure is on the community leader or the couple to do all the work of the ministry or to pastor people, care for people. How have you experienced a growing community, and how do you share the load? How do you empower others to also care for others? That it's not just all the pressure on the couple leading to do that work.
So I'd say when we started, we had no clue, right?
Yeah, none of us do.
So you leading,
into the deep end.
you really come and I can remember the elder that oversaw us. He was like, "Look, we're gonna start small. Like we're just gonna first 6 months we'll just have like 6 people in the com or whatever." And I think at the end of the first month we had 20 odd people, right? And
20 after the first month.
20 odd people, and it was just ladies.
Yeah.
And so that was a challenge for me because, yeah, they always teases me about it because if I see a group of ladies speak, I'll go say, hello, how's things, and I'll move on. I'm not going to involve myself in the conversation. That's just not how I am. And the Lord has me, and I'm leading like 20 ladies, and I'm like, where's the guy? And the husbands and is not coming to church. But it actually built something in me to reach out, to go in, to be intentional. And I went to their homes and and eventually I think within 6 months, we had more guys than ladies.
Yeah.
But size-wise, so we didn't really have a clue what we were doing. So we just kept on growing and I said, oh, this is amazing. We connect with who we can. But then we got to a point where we realized we're actually so big. How do we care for everyone? And we realized there is actually leaders. We didn't want to be called leaders. But there was guys in the community that they had a thing of they were reaching out to people and so on. So we started asking guys, can you connect with so-and-so? Can you connect with so-and-so, with this group? Could you guys get together? Could you guys? And informally, we've almost formed a leaders group. So we'd actually, a team. So we'd actually get together, the two of us. We never had deacons, but I assume in your com, if you got deacons, you draw them in. And then your potential leaders, we call them. We didn't know it's called that. So we would just get together and I was come doing any concerns, so we started leading as a group. And then there were certain giftings in there that we started stretching guys in. And we started to mature because we want to build family, but one of the things I think you're called to as a community leader is to help the guys grow up in the Lord, to help them mature in the Lord. But if you're just building family, just friends, and that's one part of it. But there needs to be a thing of are they growing in the Lord?
There must be a vision, I think.
Yeah.
So you can't just build family. You have to build for more, towards them coming into more. So I think that's also important. So
I think part of that was that and then they saw things in others, and that's how we started stirring up. And so it happened organically, I'd say. We didn't have a plan. We just thought, this makes sense. It makes sense that we got other guys that seem to have taken help carry. And so we were way over the wrong size. We'd be like 40 to 50 people in a com, right? Generally in our comms that we led. But which is too big. Let me be clear, there's a lot of issues around that. It is too big, it is not recommended. But I would say we almost had, we had guys leading in the com, different groups, guys getting together, so it worked. But I will say that when we did plant, when we did say like, listen, when we did multiply 3 times, 4 times or whatever, when we asked the guys to lead, it wasn't like, what am I going to do? Oh my goodness, it's like they've been doing, and some of the reactions was that, oh my goodness, and we're like, you've been
doing it already.
For months now.
Yeah.
And then when they actually led com, it was an easy transition. Then it wasn't like 10 calls every day. We've been doing that. And then they started forming their teams.
Yeah.
And they just mimicking what we, and that's how they did it. And 2 things happened from then. You raising up leaders without really knowing that you're raising up leaders.
Yeah.
And you're also growing, you're maturing the guys in your com. So it's not just them, but then they holding into others. And there's maturity.
Let me jump in there. So because the principle applies to, let's say, if you've got 10 or even 8 people in community, is sharing the load. And you're doing so by giving others responsibility, getting them to lead every now and again. How would you do that pastorally if you want to share the load in terms of, in a pastoral sense, or caring for others? How would you have done it that way?
I think for us, we don't build from a place of leadership. We build from a place of friendship. So for me, like, I find it easier to draw people in under that, building friendship with them. Do you know what I mean? So you're spending a lot of time with them, and then I think it just has its ripple effect of them building friendships with others. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think I think every comm leader, their heart should be on building friendships.
Yeah, friendships.
Like, I think with every comm we've led, all those guys, I can say,
We got strong friendships.
they consider us friends and we consider them friends. From the worst to the best. The guys that even left the church, that, you get the guys that they just don't want to listen and they eventually leave. If you see them in the street, it's not that.
Yeah.
Like something of, hey, how are you doing? Like, because there's still a sense of we're building a relationship, right? And I think if you build a relationship with your guys in your comm, you'll get to know your guys. Who can you trust with us? So you'll get to know your guys. Oh, no, there's wisdom there. There's even temperament. That person's not gonna explode, and then you can start seeing who can I trust with others?
Yeah.
Who can I ask? Can you help me with this? Can you go deal with that or whatever? Because you know them. Like, if you don't really know you guys in your comm, you're not gonna know how can you delegate? How can you? If you don't know them.
Yes.
And also with, I think with building a friendship, you are able to speak into each other's lives.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not just you speaking into their lives, you're building this friendship where they will also speak into your life, even if you are the community leader.
Oh, excellent.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I think even today.
Yes.
So we're elders now. Well, we're elders couple, and
we still have
the guys will still come.
community leaders.
Yeah, I
and
see this thing. I'm like,
yeah.
hey. I'm an elder. No, I don't say I'm an elder. But there's this thing of that there's this freedom to speak into each other's lives. And you model that. I don't think we should ever be like have a place of disposition. Like, if you're a comm leader, never like go when you're speaking to your guys, but I'm the comm leader, so that's not how we build. There must always be this thing of like, at any time someone can speak into your life, because ultimately we're brothers and sisters in the Lord. Yeah. So I'd say that it's when you get to know your people, you know who you can trust.
So it's the way that you build a community then is not based on function, it's on friendship, as you mentioned. And then because of the strength of friendships, the load gets shared, because if there are discipleship issues and someone needs to be discipled in a specific way, because of the level of friendship, you're not doing all the discipling. That's being shared out because of just it's coffee table Christianity. People are sharing their lives with one another all over. And then it's an inward-looking community where it's an outward-looking community where those friendship people are being drawn in and experiencing that life together.
Yeah, I think the drawing in is if you're enjoying community and you're finding life in it, you're going to invite people. You're going to invite your coworkers. You're going to invite. But if you're not really, you're going to be hesitant. You're going to be like, not ashamed, but you're going to be like, I don't smart him to come to my comm.
Yes.
And I think if there's life in your comm, people will come. People will invite others. You don't have to have too many programs and too many, everyone bring one this Wednesday. Because it's going to be a heart of yours amazing here. I want others I want the people I care about to experience it. And it will grow.
Yes.
So I think, also, when the friendship thing, you see the guy's strengths, but you see the weaknesses. Like, you can speak in each other's lives. So when you ask guys to walk with people, you know how they are, and you actually sometimes spend time with them and you see what they're doing. Like, I remember we had one guy that was very, there was no gray areas with him. And then when you walk with guys, he was black and white. And then there's that area, then we had to like, come and speak. Like, you know what? You need to be graced. There needs to be, can't be so sharp. You're gonna break. But towards the end, before we became a comm leader, a lot of that stuff had been worked out.
Yeah.
So I think
through relationship.
Through relationship. So it's not only we're looking for these strengths, but we're looking for weaknesses also. And then we build in both areas. We encourage in the strengths, but in the weak areas we speak in, we massage in. We don't just leave it. And I think for me, a lot of comm leaders don't like to go towards things that I encourage, the good stuff, but the stuff that I need to go towards and say, look here, we need to tweak this thing. They're not keen on doing that. And the problem there, then you're not really leading.
Yeah.
Because then the guys are just going where they want to go.
Very, very good.
I think even like Joe was saying now, people avoid confrontation, and so they'll let things slide. But when you build a friendship, confrontation is not a negative thing. It's we all want the best for one another. You know, we all want to grow in the Lord, and then it's easier to confront things and situations when you build
Easy
that
to
friendship.
confront without people leaving the com.
Yes.
You can confront and it's like, I hear you, and
We've had a few that walk out of it and they come back next week again.
But it's someone once said that, I think it was Andrew that once said that in order to drive a 10-ton lorry over a bridge, the bridge has to be strong enough to take the weight. And isn't it like that, you know, when we have to speak into one another's lives and correct one another, the bridge of relationship, of friendship has to be strong enough, and then it can take that, and learning how to gauge when the time is right to share and speak, if someone is too black and white, or is, you know, as friends, we do that in many ways. And I think to end, just, you know, the wonder of community life, as you mentioned about when a community grows, as you mentioned, when people want to be there. And if there's a sense of life, a sense of that you can sense people love one another, they love being together, even if they're so diverse and so different, but there's this culture of, you know, we're bound together in Jesus, and because of that, a community grows. And it's not rocket science, actually, just doing certain basics well in the Lord. And ultimately, we're a people who love Him and love one another, and that reflects the gospel to a dying world. So thank you for your time. It's been awesome just to hear some of your own story and hear just your own experience of how you've led. And yeah, God bless.